That's such a worry.
Nothing on my Facebook page yet.
Well, that's because it's only just started.
Okay.
I mean, it should be there now.
Tagged you in a post. Wait.
It should be there now. Hi, good morning, Andrea Francolini.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? You're from, you're hanging out in your home in Sydney?
That's right.
I'm hanging out here in lovely Auckland town.
Is it warm outside?
It's windy outside here. It's not too bad. It's a little bit warm, but it's not too bad.
Nice.
Yeah. It's coming into winter now, so that's good.
Exactly. I love winter light. There's no humidity. The light is so crisp. It's like being in New York in the good old days. Not today, obviously.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
Moving right along. So yeah, so welcome, Andrea, to the LSD live sessions, a series of interviews with prominent sailors and you.
Little old me.
So for those that don't know, Andrea is one of sailing's highly respected and most prominent and highly featured photographers. You've had numerous magazine covers and photos all through magazines and are featured on websites, and you've won heaps of awards. And so yeah, we just thought we'd kick off and show a little video that you and I worked on together before the Rolex 75th Rolex Sydney Hobart in December last year. Remember that?
That was cool.
That was fun, wasn't it? All right, let's get this thing rolling. Oh, hang on. I didn't turn the sound on. So yeah, I'm just still having fun playing around with all of this.
You do that.
I will do that. Okay, here we go. Share. So Andrea, why are you doing these portraits?
Because I like taking portraits, and above all, if you don't have any crew on board, the boats aren't going to go anywhere. So it's an essential part of the regatta, if you think about it. Hold it there. Cool. And go with that. Yep. Cool.
There are my wrinkles. So why women in particular?
Well, because there are not many women in the regatta, there are not many women in sailing. It is increasing though. Last year when I did this project, we found out that only 8% of women made the whole crew of the Sydney to Hobart. So it needs to increase. It is increasing little by little. And after last year's project, this year I was asked many times, oh, are you going to do it again? And I wasn't going to because I'd already done it. But then I said, yeah, I like the challenge, let's do it, but I have to find another format for it. So that's what's been going on.
What are you saying, that's not possible? All right. Sorry, go. Chin up a little bit. Okay. Is this your first Hobart?
Yeah.
Oh God, you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
I know.
So tilt your head, yeah. Chin up a tiny bit, tilt your head a little bit to your left. Nice, just pretend I'm steering. Jump over more. Yeah, cool. Straight it. That's her thing, Trevor.
And do you think you're making a difference in encouraging more women to get involved in the sport?
I mean, look, I'd love to say yes, I don't know, but the reaction I've seen, even people coming here today and getting their portrait taken, a lot of people have said thanks for giving us importance and the attention, which seems a bit strange to me because I'm just like, well, you're a crew member like anybody else, but obviously not. So it may make a difference.
So in your opinion, what do we need to do to increase the opportunities for women in sailing?
Oh, look, I just think boat owners are the ones that have to make the difference because they're the ones who let the crew on board and they're the ones who decide. Obviously, for certain events, you might need more muscle than others and just the anatomy is different. But otherwise, for twilight sailing, for Olympic sailing, I mean, women have proven themselves more than once. So I think it's a bit old-fashioned to say that women can't come on board or can't sail. So the photos from this year's shoot will be on my Facebook page. I'm going to post them on the 23rd of December. I'll put up a little collection and hopefully it'll get a bit of a following, and I'm really curious to hear the comments and hopefully it'll make some people laugh because there's some nice pictures. It's lighthearted, but the message is still getting across.
All right, well, thanks for all your support.
Great, thank you.
That was a fun project, wasn't it?
That was cool.
Gosh, it just seems like so long ago now that we did that.
Tell me about it.
And so all of those women that you took portraits of, how many of them got in contact with you afterwards?
I wouldn't say got in contact after the race. As promised, I sent everybody their portrait. And some answered and said thank you. Some were like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have chosen that picture of myself. But then again, that's why I'm the photographer and I'm choosing it, not you. But you know, it's look, it's fun. And I have to say, in these days, especially where everything's slowed down a lot, people are going back to those pictures. Because yeah, sailing picture, that's fine, but you know, as usual, the human side of things is what counts these days. So I've been noticing that on my posts, people are paying more attention to portraits than anything else. Yes, of course, if you have a picture of a boat in the middle of a blue lagoon, it makes you dream. But you know, the human side of things, where you see people smile, it's getting some traction, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really enjoy that portrait side. So you and I have known each other for what, about 15, coming up 16 odd years now?
That'd be right. Yep.
Yeah, and so for those that don't know, it's quite a little bit of a funny story as to how you and I met. I'd always had an interest in photography, and I remember always seeing your work, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he is amazing. I want to be like Andrea Francolini. I know that you love hearing this story. It gives you such a big head when you hear this story. And I remember sending you some of my photos to say, you know, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. And I remember you, I don't know, it's like, you're like, oh gosh, here we go. Another person that wants to be a photographer.
Oh, come on, you make it sound like I'm really harsh.
Oh, you know what? You've been really harsh to me, but I have to say, I think being really harsh and being really critical has actually, helped me.
And I've seen you grow over the years, and you have improved. And as I told you prior to this interview, there are some pictures that I've seen of yours that I'm like, bugger, wish I took that. So you can thank me later.
Oh, you know. And then I remember it was, I kept on trying to get in touch with you, and obviously you were very busy, and, here's someone that just wants to be like me. But it wasn't until I think it was Hamilton Island Race Week 2006 where I think I finally said to you, hey, do you remember that person that was like annoying you on the verge of maybe stalker level?
Nope.
Exactly. But there you go. All this years later, we've become great friends, and I've even got one of your cameras now, and a limited edition print of yours hanging on my wall.
That's right. Very flattered.
Yeah, and speaking of pictures hanging on the wall, I'm just sort of looking behind you there, and I'm yet to actually see a sailing photo. Why is that?
I think it's because, first of all, I'm not a sailor, and I don't know how to sail, and I probably will never want to learn. But said this, I do like sailing for different reasons than sailors, obviously, and I love the way it looks. And let's be honest, sailing does bring you to some pretty cool locations. But when I come home, it's, the pictures that you see behind me are Pakistan, fish market in Tokyo, Pakistan, my kitchen. They're all pictures that are personal projects. They're not work.
So how does someone who doesn't know how to sail, doesn't want to learn how to sail, become a sailing photographer? Like what? Well,
no pun intended, but I literally fell into it. I went sailing one year, this is many years ago, while I was living in Italy with my cousin, and we were sailing on a 470, and it was him and his crew member. And as you all know, 470s are for two people, but he took pity on his little cousin, so I said, yeah, come with us. We'll take you for a joyride. I put my foot on the boat, slipped, and fell between the boat and the dock, got totally drenched, and he just looked over and went, I don't think so. And the bastard left me on the dock. But what he didn't know, that in his bag, he had a camera. So I pulled up the camera, turned it on, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just snapping away, taking pictures of whatever random boats swung past. At the end of the event, a mother came up to me who I didn't know and said, oh, did you take pictures of the race? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And says, do you have pictures of my son? And I'm like, oh my God, Andrea, think quick, say something smart. And I said, let me go process the film. Yeah, you know that plastic thing you used to put in a camera? So I went to the local photo shop, got it processed, and I had, coincidentally, 2 pictures that she recognized, obviously, of her son. And she asked me how much she wanted. So, the price of a roll of film at the time was maybe $5 and plus the prints, and that's how I started. So then I kept on following my cousin on weekends just to have fun. And here we are 23, 25 years later.
And that's how you decided to get into sailing. That's
Well, I just
That's
like
the
it. I mean, look, be honest. I was what, maybe early 20s when I started doing this. And, you know, I was hanging around with my cousin who we get along with really well up on the lakes in Italy, in northern Italy. It's not a bad place to be. He was sailing, I was having fun doing something else. And, you know, little by little, then one picture got published and a photo agency started taking my pictures. And I got my first picture published in a magazine. And obviously I thought I was king of the world and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, then it builds. And then I came here, got my first cover shot for the first event that I covered here in January 2001. And yeah, now the rest is history, but I still get a kick out of it, regardless what kind of boat it is. So from the little dinghy to the multi-million-dollar super yachts, I just love it. I love the way it looks. And the good thing about water is that you can take a picture over and over again, but the water's always going to react in a different way. The boat's going to change, the weather conditions are going to change. So it's difficult to get the same picture. You can get similar ones, which will become boring after a while, but you're always looking for that money shot and you're always hoping that Mother Nature is going to play its part.
So speaking of that, so you can probably see up here now, I've got a little collection of your photos. So you say that water always, you know, is different and changing. This particular shot here, this is from the Etchells, right?
Etchell Worlds in Fremantle in 2006, I believe.
So most people would walk past and see all the boats and be like, oh, cool, look at all those boats. But tell us what you see when you see this particular photo.
Well, obviously, I was looking at the reflection in the water. And I remember being on the phone with somebody while I was taking that picture. And obviously, I was holding the phone like this and taking a picture. And I took, I think, 2 or 3 frames, and the person stopped talking, saying, "Are you even listening to me?" I'm like, "Yes, sorry." Anyway, because those are the kinds of things you look for. You know, in the morning when it's not windy, it's a great time, especially if there's good light, to get some dockside pictures of people. But you're always looking for something different, and that's one of those shots, I think.
It's a pretty cool shot. There's another one here as well that, I mean, it's not water as such, but this one here, it's like, you know, spot the odd one out.
Yeah.
So what event was that one?
For 40 Worlds at the CYC in Sydney. And I think it was the year that Prince, who's that dude from Denmark that married the Aussie girl?
Prince Frederick.
Yeah, that one. He was there that year, and we're just walking the docks, and I spotted that early in the morning while the boats were getting ready. And I just like the mast, but I like the composition, the guy up the mast, the sky tower in the background.
That's the Centrepoint Tower. The Sky Tower is in Auckland.
Exactly, that's what I said. And so yeah, that's it's one of those. Another one that's a shot that's something a little bit different, and that's what I try to look for to keep myself entertained.
I quite like that one. Now there's another shot here. Hang on a second. I mean, this is a stunning photo. And which boat is that? So
that's ABN AMRO 1 during the Volvo Ocean race in Melbourne in, I have no idea what year it was.
2005, 2006.
Yeah.
And it was actually 2005.
I was down in Melbourne, obviously shooting the event, and I had a boat driver that I used to work with a lot, Scott Ramsden, who's a really nice guy, but really a fantastic boat driver. And we were a little bit late leaving the dock, and I was like, dude, you've got to floor it. And his boat could easily do 30 knots, and it was flat water. And we had some people from the Volvo team in Australia on board. And everybody knows that I like to get up close and personal with boats. But then all of a sudden I saw the sun starting to play with the clouds, and I just tapped Scotty on the shoulder, said, mate, slow down. So we slowed down, and everybody's a little bit quiet, like, what's he doing? And I took 2 frames of this because then the rays went away. And that's a beautiful picture. I mean, I like it. It's the kind of picture that you can put in a boardroom, or you can put in your home, not my home, obviously, because it's not a hardcore sailing picture. Like, anybody can enjoy it because it's also a sunset picture with a boat in it.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool shot. I would say that's one of the first pictures that I took where there's a small boat in the picture, rather than being the main focus point.
You've had some pretty epic shots as well. Actually, no, before we get that one, I like this one here too. Hang on.
Love that. Love that. Oh man, do I love that shot.
So what is it about this particular shot that you love? Why?
Well, first of all, I like playing with shadows, and especially when you're in a helicopter and you get low light. This was the arrival in Hobart last year of Naval Group, and I was flying above them. It was probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was just beautiful light. And normally I'll take the picture where you can see the full mast and the shadow on the ground. But this time I said, no, you know what? I'm going to do something different. So I turned the camera horizontally just to see the boat. So the client's happy with the logo and their branding. And then you have the sail on the bottom, which normally everybody would expect the sail to be on top. And I just like it because the more you look at it, you just see the shapes, you see the boat, you see the shadow, you see the glitter on the water. It's there's a lot. It's a really nice picture. This is another picture that in a boardroom I think would look very good. That's a hint for anybody who wants in the boardroom.
All of your photos are for sale as well, aren't they?
Of course they are. Everything's for sale except for me.
Oh goodness me. You said you like to play with shadows, and I noticed that this particular photo here, just talk us through this one.
This was Ellen MacArthur when she built her trimaran here before she went around the world single-handed, so non-stop, was being built here, and I was working with them. It was, I'd say, it's probably the first big client that I had. And the day they were stretching the net above the hulls, it happened, and thank goodness it was something like 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, so the sun was straight up. And yeah, you have this kind of Spider-Man wannabe effect. It looks like the guy on the top is coming down from the mast, but he's actually sitting on the net. I don't know, it's just, you know, it's one of those pictures where you don't always have branding. It's not a sailing shot, but it's some color, even though it's in black and white.
It's color, but it's black and white. And then you've gone on and you've taken some pretty epic photos, you know, ones that really, really stand out and have had a lot of attention. And for example, this one here, I love this photo.
This picture is amazing. I've always loved, I was lucky enough when I was living in Europe to shoot the historic boats, like the Mariette, the Vilchetas, and all that kind of stuff in the good old days. And I have to say, being here in Australia, I do miss seeing those boats, but the historic 18-foot skiffs are beautiful to see. And what's so cool is that even when it's windy, they still perform. And especially because they're low boats and small boats, whenever they get hit by a wave, it looks really cool and it makes for a good picture. But yeah.
I just love looking at it because I love the fact that they're still, like, they're wearing their old school jerseys as well. That what, you know, the rugby jersey as such.
Yeah, yeah. And then you love anchors, so there's one on the bow there.
Yes.
So,
yeah, there's a lot to love, all right? Maybe you can send me that one and I'll put it on my wall.
Yeah, sure.
And then you've gone on and taken, I mean, this particular photo here has been seen around the world. This is, you know, it's quite epic.
It's luck for me, to be honest. This was the first day of the Superfoilers, I think it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, it was the first regatta. There was too much wind and they were postponing it. And then they said, no, come on, we're going to go out. We can fit in one race. And the guys hadn't been sailing these boats that often. So it was really, you know, trying to test out what the boat could do. And these guys were going downwind and my boat driver started flooring it because we were also the safety boat. And all of a sudden I hear the driver say they're going way too fast. And the moment I heard that, and we were going fast, I pulled up my camera and I was just ready. And the boat started, it was flying, it was foiling. And then all of a sudden it went down, but it didn't hit the water and then hop, went straight up. And then that's the sequence that happened. And luckily I nailed it. And it's, yeah, no, the more you look at it, like there's a guy in the bow who's trying to, he lost something, probably lost his sunnies. The other two people took the emergency exit and then the boat landed flat and capsized. Luckily everybody was okay. I mean, you know, battered and bruised, but nothing serious, luckily. But that was, yeah, that's a picture that went around the world very quickly. And yeah, luckily I was there to catch it.
Well, well done on capturing a moment that they probably wish they could forget.
Yep, I'll remind them.
Then you've got these kinds of shots here as well. Like, I mean, it's something quite special and spectacular about this particular picture.
The Sydney to Hobart. This is every year. I've been shooting the Hobart from the helicopter, I'd say for the past maybe 10 years. And every year I always find a moment to put the camera down and just look at it all and saying, guys, like there are 10, 12 helicopters up here in the world and I'm one of them. So it is quite special and it's beautiful to see. This particular year, we knew the weather forecast was very light, so therefore that means very boring to shoot. And you have to come up with something, obviously, because the client's not going to say, well, you know, can't blame the weather. So I remember I had a 15 a fisheye lens, which I literally had to dust off because I hadn't used it. Like, it's such an 80s thing to do. But I took it out, had it on my camera, and when this happened, I just said, well, might as well take it. And yeah, this picture too, I think The Guardian published it on their cover for the sports section. And then same thing, it went around the world. But it's nice because it shows the location. You can see the bridge in the background, the exclusion zone, the spectator boats. It's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's one of these pictures that there's so much to look at. And you could definitely, I mean, I could see something like this on the wall and you just sort of stare at it constantly, you know, trying to identify all the different boats. But not only that, just like checking out all those spectator boats, looking at the city. It's not bad. You did well on that one. Congratulations.
Very kind.
And then speaking of the Hobart, I mean, you like to just go next level, and you went to the next level on this particular photo. And do you know which one I'm going to bring up next?
Oh, probably the helicopter in Wild Oats. Yep, that's my James Bond picture.
So when someone says, I want a really epic photo of my yacht, you're like, yeah, sure, let's chuck in a rubber ducky following one. We're going to have another boat flying out of the water. We're going to have the yacht, and we're going to have a helicopter. And you just went, yeah, sure, no worries. I've got it covered. Yeah,
and I was quite annoyed because the dolphins didn't show up at the right time. So, you know, had to ask for my money back.
Could you honestly imagine if you had a dolphin jumping out of the water at this as well?
That would have been amazing. No, look, this picture has become a little bit of my Hobart signature picture. Every year now, everybody wants to see my helicopter picture, and which means having a helicopter in the shot. And this was the first one I did. And I love it because I was talking to the other helicopter pilot and just saying, come on, guys, pass in front of the boat. I want to take a picture and see what happens, because obviously I'm moving, the boat's moving, the other helicopter's moving. So it is a fraction of a second, of course. And I think I had time to take maybe 2 frames. And the first frame, the tail of the helicopter was cut out. And this is the second frame. And then the third frame, nothing happened. But I like it. There's a helicopter. There's a blue rib in the background. I don't know. It looks like James Bond is getting off or something like that. And then, oh yeah, there's Wild Oats in there too. So it's a picture I really like because it is action packed. And the more, it's one of those things, the more you look at it, you're like, how in the world did that happen? And, you know, it's a question of timing.
Well, you managed to pull off the timing quite well, because then you did it again here.
Yeah, this was probably the first helicopter shot I did then. This is Geronimo Olivier de Kersauton's boat. They were going around the world and they suffered some serious damage during gale force winds in the Southern Ocean, and they pulled into Sydney, and then they went to Newcastle to do some repairs, and I was working for them through my agency in Paris. And yeah, we had to do this was before they did a race around Australia to try and establish a record and hope that other people would come and follow. And yeah, same thing, we did the shakedown one afternoon, and there was another helicopter, I think that's the ABC helicopter was flying, same thing. I knew the other pilot, so we get on the radio, said, mate, can you just go above the boat and just, you know, hold it there for a minute? And that's the picture that came out. And I really like it because, again, there's a lot going on, and a lot of people that look at that shot and they're like, wow, that is so cool. Wait a minute, where are you? I said, yeah. I'm in a helicopter. I said, but how can you be in a helicopter if there is, and you know, it takes them a while to figure it out.
So what kind of lens did you use for this particular one? Because you would have had to have been a fair distance away.
I think it was a 72 to 200.
Really? Is that all?
Yeah, it's not a long lens. We were quite low. Like, we were all low.
Do you ever get scared when you're up there doing that stuff?
Thank God, no. and I've had close calls on boats, and this was more because the boat driver wasn't good. So that's why I always tell them, if you're not comfortable with something I want to do, please say so, because it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a picture in there where I think InfoTrack is just steaming straight at me. Yeah, 2 pictures down. And you know, there too, we were quite close, and I was doing a shoot for them, and they know that it's me, so they don't freak out. And the boat driver, like, you ready? I said, yeah, no problem. And then he just moved, and I could have thrown my cap on board. We were that close when the boat passed us. But these are calculated risks. Obviously, if our engine would have cut out, maybe wouldn't be here talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like to put myself into these kinds of positions as well, where you really get that front angle, that all of that action that's going on in the bow, but you then also get the faces of the sailors in the background. They're always a little bit unsure about what you're going to do. And I know.
Go ahead.
They know that we are fully aware of what's going to go on, and we know what the boat's going to do, and, you know, can move away if we need to. But yeah, it can be quite daunting being, you know, staring down the barrel of a gun like this.
The majority of these pictures are done while we're training.
Hmm.
So they're not done in a race, because in a race, you can obviously disturb them and all that kind of stuff. And as I said, the skipper and the helmsman, they know it's me, and they know that we're working together. So when they see me do something like this, it's an unwritten rule. You keep your course, I'll get out of the way. Unless you hear me yelling in all the languages I know, then that's different. But no, for the moment, so far so good.
So then you've got, it's quite interesting, this little series here of hands. Now, are these the hands of a sailor?
Yes.
Tell us about this particular sailor.
So this series done on the black background are hands of people who sail the historic 18-foot skiffs. Average age, 60 plus.
The hands look historical.
Yeah, okay, if you say so. But no, I just wanted to do a series of hands because it's, once again, it's something different to sailing. And, you know, we do everything with our hands. Okay, some people use their feet now on winches, but you do everything with your hands on a boat. So it is quite an important part of the of it. So I decided to do a series on that called All Hands on Deck.
Oh, that's a nice little pun. I like that.
I'm not just a photographer, you know.
Yes, you're also really terrible at jokes.
Well, I'm a dad. Come on, what do you expect?
So what is it about the black and white? You know, it's quite harsh, and it's all like, it's quite confronting seeing black and white shots like this. What is it about these shots that you like?
You're focusing on the hands, and besides obviously your feet, they're the only connection you have with the boat, and that's what makes the boat go ahead. So I think we don't talk enough about the people who are on the boat. You always talk about the boat owners, but you don't talk about the crew. And this is a way to, I mean, for me, it's a way to talk about the work that people do. Black and white, I love black and white. I mean, the majority of my work, my personal work, is in black and white anyway, because it's more intimate, and it can be a bit more grungy, more contrasty, whatever you want to call it.
Dramatic.
Yeah, there's more punch to it.
And you've gone on and done quite a really great series of portraits, and we've got a couple of my favorites here. Nina Curtis.
This could so be a cover of Vogue. Really nice girl, as many of you know. And I remember we did that picture on a rainy day. We had a coffee first, and I'd never met her. I mean, we bumped into each other. We knew who we were, but we never sat down to have a chat. Really nice girl, really down to earth. And oh my God, can she smile? And she just never, like, you know, at a certain point I said, Nina, can you be serious? And she just burst out laughing. I'm like, dude, seriously, come on, I'm trying to take a picture here. And she just could not stop. I mean, she's such a radiant and positive person. And then I took this shot, and I'm like, yep, I can see that on the cover of Vogue, all modesty aside, for her, obviously. But yeah, so this is part of a series that I've been doing for 3 years called Eye to Eye, where obviously I'm focusing only on the eyes of the person because the rest is softly out of focus. And I've been doing it with sailors. I've been doing it during my travels. I've been doing it, yeah, whoever I bump into and I think has an interesting face.
So, I mean, I love this picture. She's, Nina is such an amazing person, so bright, bubbly, and happy all the time. And you can see that you've captured that, and her sparkling blue eyes as well. So well done. And then you actually, you another one in this series, this guy here.
Tough cookie. Good guy, tough cookie.
So for those that don't know, this is Tom Slingsby.
Yeah, Tom,
and
this is an oldish picture. It's not something taken recently, but it's what I call the Olympian look. Like, the determination in those eyes is just like, let's get this done. I have stuff to do. And yeah, it's sheer determination, but he's a really nice guy, very down to earth. And yeah, you know, these shoots last, I've done a portrait like this for magazines in less than a minute. And because once I find the right light, I know what I'm doing technically. Just stay there, look at the camera, do this, do that, bang, 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 and it's gone. And this picture of Tom was no different because it was after a press conference. So obviously everybody wanted to talk to him, and I managed to grab him first. So yeah, but I like it. It's cool. That's a face of determination.
Absolutely. There's one here that I absolutely love, and we had a chat with Bianca Cook just a couple of days ago, who's leading New Zealand's entry into the next edition of the Ocean Race. When did you capture this one of Bianca?
This was, I'd say 2 years ago, 2018. Yep. Magnetic Island Race Week, another beautiful event up in northern Queensland. Beautiful location too. And I just wanted to do something different. You know, we had time in the morning, so I was just trying to gather up people and say, come on, let's take pictures. I was getting into flash photography and using lights, which I never did before. And so I took a picture of her crew. There were, I think, 5 girls on board. And I didn't even know who she was. And now I do, obviously. So I'm quite happy that she's in my archive. So yeah, it's, but again, doing something different. It's not only about sailing. It's not only about socializing in the afternoon, just it's trying to find another facet of an event.
I mean, there's definitely a lot going on in our sport, and you've managed to capture some pretty amazing photos. You know, so what's it like when you actually have to jump on board and do a shoot on board? I mean, for a non-sailor who doesn't really have any clue about what's going on.
No, slow down. Wait. I know enough not to get in the way, put it that way. Even though every now and then I will hear somebody from the back of the boat yell, Andrea, get the down, you know, that kind of stuff. It happens. But this was a picture, this was on Beaugest, the big one, while they were training before the Hobart. And we were coming back into Sydney Heads, and I told Gavin Brady, said, come on, mate, I need a little bit of splash on the bow. And he looked at me and said, yeah, sure. So I called up Matt, said, Matt, I said, yep. And he just goes with his head. And the guy was already wet enough the way it is. And it's like, really? I said, come on, mate, go. So we go up. I put my foot on the mast where the instruments are just to get a little bit of height. And then Gavin yells, Andrea, you ready? And I just turn around and look at him. And the moment I do that, I feel the boat slow down, and I turn quickly forward, and this happened. And obviously they got drenched. Everybody at the back of the boat was cheering and all that kind of stuff. We had a fun time doing it. And then when we walked, by the time he came back and I got down from where I was, he just pats me on the shoulder and said, I want to print with that. And I'm like, yep, fine, no problem. And then, yeah, when I saw the pictures, I emailed it to him, and then I printed for him, and apparently it's on his wall at home. So it's cool. But it's great because it gives another angle.
Absolutely.
It makes it look different, which is fantastic.
I absolutely love the onboard shots, and you've got another one here as well.
That's Waldo. This is an oldish one, probably one of the first ones that I've done with proper spray. That's Tim Weisman. And same thing, you know, I'm there. No matter how covered you, I mean, I don't have the proper wet weather gear to do ocean racing, but I still pretend to zip up my jacket, even though I come back with my undies wet because of sea salt, not because of anything else. And yeah, and you get these kind of pictures, so it's pretty cool. I
call bullshit on that. I reckon you probably had a couple of meltdowns.
No, it's fun because it's something different, and I don't have the opportunity to do it that often. So when I do it, I really like it, and hopefully it's on a rough day because I want to get wet. If I don't get wet, it's not been a good day at the office. This is Comanche this year. Same thing. I mean, look at the size of that boat. You have 4 people, and there's probably somebody behind me running up to the bow, working, and yeah, and getting wet at the same time. I love it. It's fun. You know, you go out 2 or 3 hours, come home. Every muscle in my body is sore, even muscles that I didn't even know I had. But it's a great day.
No, it's really cool. I mean, I love being on board, getting the onboard video and onboard photography. I get a real kick out of it. So I can see why you like it as well.
And
so
when you're seeing the human element of it.
Absolutely.
Like people working. It's not a boat whizzing, but which is also beautiful, but you see people.
I totally agree with you. So now, Andrea.
Yes.
Now you've wanted to do this here. Just one moment for me here. You wanted to actually, before we get started, that photo there.
Oh yeah, that's all right.
Is one of my favorites. That's picture of Anarchy launching out of the water a few years ago.
Nice, well done.
So now you wanted to play a little game.
Yeah, ask some questions.
let's ask these particular questions. And I'm just going to hand you some questions that we've had that have come through from the audience before we got started here today. So here you go. Here's the first question.
Oh, thank you. All right. What separates a good picture from a great one? Oh gosh. Well, I think a great picture is something that you're going to remember for a very long time. A good picture, you'll get a kick out of it. A good picture very often will tell you the facts, and a great picture, yeah, will leave you that kind of emotion that you're going to remember. And hopefully I haven't taken my great picture yet. Otherwise, I'll try to make a greater one. But yeah, I think that's the main difference. It's something that remains in your mind for a long time, no matter what it is.
All right, I have another question. I feel very, very silly handing these to you, but here's the next one.
Whole part of the fun, isn't it? Got it. Oh, best compliment you've received about your work. Wow. Professionally, it's when a client comes back for a second shoot, because obviously that means they were happy with the first one. So that's a pretty good compliment. Otherwise, when you see your pictures hanging on walls in offices at home, and as I said before, you also have one of my pictures from Tokyo, hand printed picture. So when you go into somebody's house and you see it there, you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely get a kick out of seeing my photos up on people's walls. It's I think that's out of everything, that's like, oh wow, you know, I don't know. It's a strange feeling of
it's another validation.
Satisfaction.
Yeah, there's something to it. It's cool. It's a really nice feeling. I mean, I've shot a lot of weddings for friends, so to see their wedding picture, okay, yeah, whatever, it's nice. Of course, they're gonna put it up there, still in love. It's only been a year or two, but a work picture, like when you see a sailboat, you're like, wow, that does look good, and it's nice. And I love seeing printed pictures. I mean, as you can see, these are the walls in my living room. They're full of pictures, not only mine, but they're full. I just like it. It's entertaining. Come on.
I'm just going to change my background picture here for a second.
That's a nice shot.
And I want you, I mean, it's not sailing.
No, but that's a nice picture. I like that. It's a nice city picture. The conditions are wild. Yeah, that's a cool shot.
So that particular shot was taken after the start of the second Sands Triple Series race last year, the Lumar Triple Series, and we were on our way back to shore after getting all the way down on the other side of Waiheke Island. For those that don't know, it's a long way away in a 6.5 meter rib with 3 people on board, and it was snotting about 38, 40 odd knots, and we were pushing all the way back into it. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, I could see what it was looking like. My boat driver and the other guy who was with me, I said to them, when we get up here, we're stopping. And they're like, no, we are not. We are not stopping. We are going home. And I'm like, guys, trust me, I just need 2 minutes. I have to get this shot. And they reluctantly pulled over and we stopped. There was just water everywhere. I got right down low in the boat, and I think it was probably 3 frames that I took. And as soon as I got it, I looked at it, I'm like, oh yes, let's go home.
It's a nice picture. It says a lot. There's the location, there's the weather conditions, and yeah, I would say that's a typical Auckland picture.
And iconic Bean Rock. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Well done.
Come back to this one, because this one showcases our awesome supporters.
Of course.
Alrighty, so another question for you. Do you really want me to hand this one to you?
You can read it now, come on.
No, come on, you wanted to play this game. You even made me practice beforehand.
Dude, don't give the secret away, come on.
Damn it, right, there you go.
Yep. You gotta love it. Oh God, yes. What was the hardest shoot you've done? Well, look, the hardest shoot is probably when there's no wind, there are no waves, and it's raining. That sucks. Like that really, let me be honest, that sucks. But you still have to come home with something.
I have been on the receiving end of your complaints about those days where you were like, this is so typical, got to go do this shoot. There's no wind, there's rain, blah, blah, blah.
No, that is, yeah, I prefer to blow my steam off before I get on the boat. And then you do have to concentrate, because the way I see it, you can't come home and say to the client, sorry, no pictures, bad weather, because the answer is going to be, well, but that's why we hired you, so work it out. And you have to, and you do it, but it's hard.
I actually find it's harder to shoot on those light days than it is on the windy days.
Oh, look, on a windy day, almost anybody can get a good picture. Because everything's happening around you, but it's when nothing's happening that's where you see composition, you see ideas, you see tricks, and all that kind of stuff. And you have to be that fisheye picture you showed before the city to Hobart is a typical example of a day where nothing was happening, and
yet lots was happening.
Yeah, exactly, but you have to see it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, next question. Next question. So dorky.
If you had to speak for yourself. If you had to take one last picture, what or who would it be? Probably be my daughter. I take a lot of pictures of her, obviously, even though she always rolls her eyes. I wonder where she got that from.
No, she gets that from you, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll probably take a picture of her. She likes to pose for a fraction of a second, attention span of a flea, so it has to be quick. But yeah, that'll probably be it. If it had to be a picture of a landscape or a boat, I honestly have no idea. Years ago, I'd have told you it's a boat jumping off a wave. Now I'd probably tell you maybe it's a small little boat on the horizon with some kind of strange light in the background, being a bit more zen and advanced in age, or mature as they like to call it these days. So I don't know, but yeah, no, if I had to choose one, I'd probably take a picture of her.
So speaking of that, a photo with a boat just in the background or something, let's just show this one on this one.
The bottom corner.
That
Yeah,
one.
or that one.
Before that one.
No. Well, okay, stop. Hold your horses. That's Sydney to Hobart, obviously, and that's Comanche in the background. And it was bad weather. I remember we took off at the break of light. And my brief was, I want a picture of my boats and the organ pipes. And I was like, well, don't go too fast, because if it's dark, we can't do anything. And we were there in Hobart, ready to take off. And we took off. And by the time we got to the organ pipes, the light was terrible. Everything sucked. But you still had to try and they were too far away to get that typical shot that you see in the city to Hobart. So you had to work this one through, and it's another way of doing it. Small boat, landscape. I like it. It's another picture you could put somewhere else. But the picture I had in mind was 2 or 3 pictures after that one. There's a small one that I just took recently. If you can go look at them.
Oh, sorry.
You're listening to what you're doing.
Which one do you want me to go to?
4 pictures down, the one after Sir Robin Knox. You see the picture with Bianca?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Okay, this picture was taken literally 2 weeks ago when Australia started enforcing their isolation because of this virus going around. And I was up at West Head in Pittwater. And that, I think, is it's not my typical picture, because I like more action, hardcore, like, you open the double spread in a magazine and there's waves hit you and all that kind of stuff. But this is a very peaceful one, and it's nice. So
We've just had another question come through.
Yeah.
When you're shooting on board a yacht, what sort of housing are you using?
I don't. Okay, so if I'm shooting the bow pictures, where obviously you can see that I'm getting wet, I have what do you call it? A housing called Outex, which is a soft rubber housing, and which is 100% waterproof. Like, you can go diving with it up till, I think, 5 meters or something like that. It's very light, and I can feel the camera. It's not a hard housing, so I can still put it around my neck, and because obviously there are times where you have to let the camera go and hold on to something. But yeah, it's a soft housing. Obviously, it's 100% waterproof. Other pictures, when I'm at the back of the boat or with the grinders and all that, there is no protection. I just have a tissue in my jacket to wipe off the lens in case I need to.
Yeah, same. I always find having stuff around it just, hinders what you can get.
Yeah, but look, you have to learn how to work with it too. It's obviously...
How many cameras have you lost to salt water?
One camera and 1 lens. And of all places, it was in, no, 2 actually. It was in Tahiti. And I think I was swimming with stingrays. Yep. And a huge one came next to the boat and that I was on, and I literally ran downstairs, got my camera, closed the housing, didn't close it properly, got in the water, took some pictures. This was a day of film, took some pictures, and then while I'm swimming, all of a sudden I hear the camera taking pictures by itself, and I just pull up the housing saying, what's going on? And it was half flooded. And that's the end of it. I saved the roll of film, so I got the shot, but yeah, that camera has had better days.
Yeah, I've lost one as well.
Yeah, it happens. It's there's nothing you can do about it if you're playing with water. That's why a lot of photographers hate shooting boats, because it is, I mean, I'm used to it, but it is dangerous for the cameras.
I have where I go to get my cameras cleaned, the guys, every time I walk in to go and give them my cameras, they basically just shake their head at me and laugh, and they go, haha, what are we going to find in this thing today? It's almost like a game to them.
Oh,
Hey, another question has come through. What's your favorite boat to shoot?
favorite boat to shoot?
You probably have to be careful how you answer this one.
There's no one answer to that, because I love shooting dinghies, Olympic classes, and I love shooting super maxis, because obviously they make a lot of spray, but dinghies are also close to the water level, so there's a lot of spray if you get the right conditions. So I can't really say. Sorry.
So that's it. You're not going to share that one.
Well, no, I can't answer that question. As I said, I like, if the conditions are right, any boat's going to look good, just as long as it floats.
I actually really like the classics, and I'm just want to show this one. It's just something about them.
The classic yacht, that's Dorade up in Hamilton Island a couple of years ago. I mean, classic yachts are super elegant. I find them really elegant boats. And when you see them going in these rough conditions, you would think that that kind of boat is a little bit fragile, lack of a better word. But man, these things are tough cookies. I mean, they're built, and the proof is they've been around for a lot longer than the super maxis that we have these days. So to see them in rough conditions, I think there's something majestic about them. It's really, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just wish we had some more here on this side of the world.
It's gorgeous. Well, there you go. So what advice would you give to anybody who wants to take up photography?
Don't do it. No, just kidding. Yeah, you have to practice.
Yeah.
And once you finish that, go back and practice. There's no secret to it. And today, Photoshop has, or the computer, the digital side has a big aspect to it, but it's not, I don't like photoshopping my images because I have a journalistic background. So pictures are the way you see them. You're not changing a sky or changing colors, because I'm a great believer, unless it's advertisement, that if you have to do that to make a picture look good, it means the picture you're starting with is not good. Like this picture here of this little girl, it's a simple shot. She's 5 years old, but far out, it's intense, and it's not photoshopped. So, and the same things with the sailboat. Some of the pictures you've shown today, they're nice pictures the way they are. But for somebody starting, you really have to develop your own style, and it takes a long time to do that. It's not easy. And find something that you're passionate about, because when you go through the rough times like this, for example, that we're going through now, or rough times normally that happen during your professional life, the last thing you want to do is start doubting what you're doing. So I've been in Australia for Christmas time. It's going to be 20 years. I've had a lot of lows with work, like no work at all. And you start doubting how you're selling yourself, what you're doing, how you're contacting people. Like, you rethink everything. But thank God, not once have I ever rethought, am I in the right job? So that got me through the tough times. And I'm also lucky because photography is my hobby. So I have a lot of personal projects, mainly, Pakistan, obviously with my charity, and then portraits that now is also becoming work. So when I'm not shooting, I have other stuff to shoot because I want to practice. I want to do something. I want to learn something more. So you have to have that curiosity and keep on doing it. Even if people tell you, I lost count how many people told me when I came here, there's no room for another sailing photographer. I'm like, okay. And here we are talking about it 20 years later. So it's you have to be stubborn, head down, and just go. There's nothing you can do. But it's hard. It's really hard because these days everybody's a photographer, and especially now that these things exist, it's very difficult to make a niche market and to make your name. It can be done, but it's hard. Don't think it's just pressing a button and sending an email or putting it on social media and it's going to go viral, because it won't.
No, I completely understand that. I've got to work really, really hard. Every time I go out and take a photo or do a video, I have to work even harder just to have that little point of difference or something that makes it stand out.
Yeah, totally agree.
Hey, Andrea, it's been great having a chat with you this morning.
Oh, thank you.
And getting an insight into what you do and how you do it and all your amazing helicopter shots.
Which we won't be doing for a while now, but there are other things that we can do. So got to explore those.
Plenty of other things to keep us busy. So here you go. Here's one for you. So if anyone is interested in learning more about photography, are you happy for them to contact you like I did all those years ago?
Oh, yes. You never know. You never know. We might find another gem in the ocean. Whatever. Yes, of course.
That's so sarcastic.
Of course, they can contact me. I'm more than happy to look at a portfolio, to give constructive criticism. It might not always be nice, but nothing good came out of being pampered. So, yep.
Yeah, and I think that's, I know that you've helped me improve with my photography over the years. You have been brutally honest with certain shots that I thought was amazing, and you've gone, nah, it's quite shit.
The difficult thing, and I've seen this in my trips to Pakistan, especially the first years that I was going there, that I wasn't used to the whole environment. I'd come back home with some pictures, and when I'd edit them, and then I'd show other photographer friends who I obviously respect and want their point of view, or if you have to put a portfolio together for a magazine or whatever, I would show them the pictures, and the picture that I really like, they'll just go like, yep, boom, that's not worth anything. And I'm like, dude, you kidding me? That's a great picture. And they'll turn around and say, why? I said, oh man, like it took me, I don't know how many hours. I hadn't slept. The food was terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I had this whole list of things that happened around the picture in order for me to get it. And this person who was sitting in the cafe in Balmain said, yeah, but it still sucks. I'm like, oh God, seriously? So, you need that kind of criticism sometimes. It's hard, but you do need it. A friend of mine, he was shooting something for a book. He went to do a course on how to put a book together. And the guy ripped him apart. And he's a good photographer. He just ripped him apart. And when he came out, he called me and it was swearing, that idiot doesn't understand anything. What the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, mate, deep breath, put it away. Think about it tomorrow. He went back to reshoot what he showed that photographer during the workshop that he was doing. And the following year, he won an award for it. So yes, it hurts because it's your personal life. It's your investment. It's time, it's money, it's emotions, and all that kind of stuff. But if you show your mom your pictures, she's always going to say, yes, honey, they're beautiful, but whatever. So a little bit of harsh criticism. It's hard, but that's the only way to learn.
No, well, I've appreciated it. And yeah.
Cool.
Don't get too much of a big head over it.
I'm not. I can still fit in the screen. It's fine.
Only just. Hey, Andrea, thank you so much for the time this morning.
All right, my pleasure.
Great chatting with you and showing some of your favorite photos. And no doubt when we can get back on the water, we'll start to see more of your work.
Oh, there'll be other work coming out even without being on the water. Don't you worry.
Yeah, we kind of like the sailing stuff.
Yeah, I know, but got to vary it a bit, Keep it interesting.
Sailing stuff. The sailing portraits, amazing. Sailing photos, amazing. Onboard photos, amazing. Helicopters with boats, amazing.
And the rest, what are you saying? Come on.
It's good.
Get it out.
Yeah, no, I really like them.
Oh, good.
All right, Andrea, let you, what day is it today? Friday.
Friday.
Let you get back to your Friday, and we'll be in touch again soon. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. Up next in our live sessions, we've got tomorrow morning is Knots Racing, the match racing team who is ranked second in the world, the Kiwi team. And then next Wednesday night, we've got Leonard Takahashi and Nathan Outteridge from Sail GP Japan. It's not bad.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Andrea. And we'll catch up with you soon.
Ciao. Stay safe.
Bye.
See ya.